So we've entered spring, but which of these board games have really sprung off the shelf for us in March?
Hi, I'm Libby, this is Julian, and together we are BoxedMeeples, and another month has come to an end. As you say, it's coming into spring, although it did snow in March. Bit weird. But we're back to talking about what our favourite game was that we played last month.
When you back a Kickstarter, you get to prolong that element of expectation, which we all enjoy.
Yeah.
We pretend we don't, but we do. We don't mind it when it's delayed, really. We get more updates to read and more progress videos to watch. We love it when it's delayed. We just get to prolong the excitement.
Are you just trying to do controversial opinion and not Game of the Month right now?
Well, a game I backed about 2 years ago was Distilled, and boy howdy was this worth the wait. I fully invested in the campaign. I backed at the top level I could do. I got all of the extra components, the neoprene mat, the coins, the cubes, the metal cubes.
Oh, the first player marker, that's immense.
The fancy first player marker. And the game's arrived, and it hits the table with that element of anticipation when you've gone all in and you've spent quite a bit of money on a game that you hope you're going to like. I was hearing good things.
You were,
As you approach the conclusion of the campaign, I've been seeing it on a few different videos, and since people have been playing it and showing it off, and they seem to like it, I really loved it. Obviously, I like the theme of it. I really like the idea of making your own spirits, and it looks a bit of a beauty on the table. It's got a real quality table presence, not least because of obviously all the fancy components I have, but the artwork's really nicely done. And there's lots of kind of nice attention to detail just that mixes through the theme into both the mechanisms of the way you play it by removing elements of it as you're brewing your spirit, but also just in the sympathetic way you have the labels that match kind of spirit labels. It's all very, very nicely done. And the game itself is good. I really like the kind of mixture of market trading, choosing which elements you're going to buy, and the kind of push your luck elements that you get in this game. It isn't really a lucky game, and I think often it kind of is being dismissed as that, when really it's a luck mitigation game. So if you don't want to run the risk of losing, add more cards, so that removing 2 cards from the deck won't affect your outcome. And obviously, even if it does affect your outcome, hopefully you've built like a safety net underneath it, so that you may not get the spirit you want, but you'll get still a good one.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, you're going to get moonshine, which still itself does good things. There's lots of kind of elements in this game that work really well together. There's, even just in the base game, without the Kickstarter extras or without the expansion, you're getting probably a dozen different distillers, which you can choose from to play, as each have their own abilities, and each can actually make their own spirit. And that's really nice, because it means that different combinations will play a game differently. And also you have the tasting flights, so the spirits you can actually make during the game are different each time you play. And there's lots of different combinations of that. Quite a lot of cards to buy in the market, so it does feel very varied each time you play.
And the end of game points, like your personal one and the ones that are open for other people, they're also going to vary, and they might mesh well with your particular personal spirit that you're kind of brewing as well, so that will change your gameplay around depending on those two.
And we haven't played. I think it does outstay its welcome a little bit with 5 players. I think it's realistic. It says here on the box 30 minutes per player. I think it's more likely 45 minutes. We play a kind of 2-player game in just over an hour, I suppose.
I think it will get quicker the more we get used to the game, though. So I think the 5-player was our first play, and so that did suffer time-wise because of that. We didn't know the game, and that will improve. But maybe we'd play with 4 in the future.
Yeah, I think 4 would be the sweet spot. 3 or 4 would be a great.
But I do appreciate that they do take it to 5, because there's so many games out there that are to 4, and then we often have a group that is that little tiny bit bigger, and it does open up that world if we do want to, and we're not bothered about the timing in that particular evening.
And I liked it too because it does take into account a faster refreshing market.
Yeah.
And I'm particularly very positively about this game, but there are some elements I wasn't particularly fond of. I found the kind of player markers were too big, so we've got to look at an alternative for that, particularly with 5 players.
Yeah.
Very tricky to know exactly where people were on the board because it became very crowded with the wooden ones. And yes, like I said, it does take up quite a lot of space on the table, but it's got a really great table presence, so I guess it's kind of one thing or the other. Like I said, I have really enjoyed our time at Distilled. I think it's going to become one that we quite often get off the shelf. Someone has already asked, they didn't get to play it with us because obviously it went up to 5. They saw it being played and they said, oh, can you bring that back, so I'd like to play it as well. So yeah, it's a good one. I can see us playing it quite a lot and hopefully getting the full value for money from my Kickstarter investment.
Yes, I do think that it's one of those that once you have learnt it for that first time, it's going to be super easy to pick back up again. Whereas some other games, if it's been a few months and you've gone through all that trudge of learning it, got it to the table, think yes, brilliant, and then you kind of a couple of months later, it's been slightly longer than you hoped till you get it back, and it's kind of almost like starting at scratch again to relearn. Whereas I don't think that will be the case with this. I think it's quite intuitive play. I think it will be quite easy to get it back out and replay.
Intuitive is a great word to describe this game. It just feels like a natural play, and it all fits in well. It doesn't seem like there's a rule that seems just to be really abstract and bizarre. It's very well thought out. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So that's my game of the month.
Yes, my game of the month came about on my trip to Airecon, which was obviously magical. If you haven't watched my video about Airecon, then do. We went to one of the Watch It Played events. Paula was answering one of the questions from the audience, and she mentioned a game, Poetry for Neanderthals.
This is Paula Deming from Watch It Played.
Paula Deming, yes. And I hadn't heard of that one before, but was like, oh, that sounds interesting. And it turns out some of the people that I was with happened to have a copy with them that they'd never played before. So we went back and we thought, let's have a little play of this game. It sounds quite fun. It sounds great. And so basically what you're doing in Poetry for Neanderthals is very much a party game. And this was obviously an evening of a convention. So everyone's sort of into that mood at that point in time. I was working, but they've had their sort of core big games in the day, and then we've all had dinner, we've gone to an event that the convention's putting on and done all of that, and now it's time for lighter party silly games. And in this one, you split into 2 teams, and you're each trying to kind of get the name that's on a card, much like you do in many other word games. But in this one, you can only talk in 1 syllable. So basically like cavemen, that's where the Neanderthal bit comes in. If you break any of the rules, you get hit on the head with an inflatable club. Which
comes in the game. It's not like it wasn't just someone's weird house rule.
No, it's just that I randomly added that in. There's an inflatable club in the game. So if someone breaks the rules, they get bashed. And you basically, each card has 2 words on it, and one of the words, the bottom half, is a longer version really of the top half. So you can go for the top word and get 1 point, or you can try and go for the harder, longer word and get 3 points with your when you're trying to get your team to guess it. But you've just got to make sure that you're only using 1 syllable words, which when you're in that kind of fast-paced, quick thinking, on a timer situation, all you can think of are the long words. That's all you can think of, and you're like, oh gosh, how many syllables is in that? Nope, can't say that word. And then my first time, I think I sort of basically froze. And I was like, I don't know how to say this. And then the minute the card comes up, someone else is like, oh yeah, you could have said this, and I'm like, oh,
well, of course I could have. That's so obvious now.
I think I was better the next time. I just needed to get into the mode of it. But it was super funny, super silly. Like, we had been playing Just One a lot because they had giant Just Ones at Airecon, and then we'd done some after in the hotels and things like that. And it has that kind of party fun, wordy vibes, but just with extra silliness because the club. Obviously, probably maybe play with people I'd only met them that night, so.
I just find it really strange.
But you make friends easily that way, by clubbing them.
Yeah. I just find it really strange that you would choose your game of the month a party game,
yes.
Whereas I'm choosing a kind of mid-weight market game. How we've all changed and learned from each other.
Yeah, but I think that I was always going to pick something from Airecon because it was such a nice time to be at the convention, to meet new people, new friends, and all of that kind of stuff. And obviously, when I was working there, I didn't really have the opportunity to play some of those bigger games, maybe some of the new things that people have had recently arrived on Kickstarter, or things from the library, only a bit of evening time. And by the time everyone else is is getting to that part of their evening. They're looking for something maybe a little bit lighter. I mean, I spent a great amount of time having some fun games of Dodo. Some of those were hilarious. Also played Savanac Forest loads, really enjoying that game, so much fun. We have also got
Got a playthrough of it on the channel.
Yes. But I just felt like this game just is always going to remind me of making new friends at that convention. I went up on my own or with a colleague, but I was on my own in that evening, having met new people, playing a new game, one that probably, you know, is a bit crazy to be playing with people that you've never met before. And it was just so fun, so friendly. So it's always going to remind me of those sort of vibes from that con. So I thought that it was worthy, even though it wouldn't necessarily be one that I would normally, you know, pick for game of the month, because it's not my kind of standard go-to game. But yeah, it was definitely worthy of it. It was a really fun time. So there we go.
Yeah, what games have you been enjoying this month? Do let us know down in the comments below. What games did you particularly like in March? Maybe it's one we should look up.
Yes.
But if you're new to the channel, please do consider hitting that subscribe button and tickling the like button if you really enjoyed it, and then ringing the bell for notifications.
Yes, we do 2 to 3 videos a week, all about board games. So the little bell will let you know all about those. But until then, we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching.